What do you think when you look back at last season? For Aaliyah Boston, it wasn't just about wins and losses. It was about perception, the stories told outside the lines, and how those stories often missed the truth. The Indiana Fever spent much of last year living under the weight of one of the biggest misconceptions in the league. Fans and media alike insisted there was locker room tension, whispers of fractured chemistry, and endless speculation about her body language. Every bad game became evidence. Every glance, every shrug was dissected as proof of some hidden drama. But in a new interview on Sue Bird's Bird's Eye View podcast, Aaliyah Boston finally opens up, and what she shares flips the entire narrative on its head. Boston didn't hold back. She laughed at the idea that she and Caitlin Clark, the Fever's newest star, hated each other. From the very beginning, their relationship was built on honesty, humor, and mutual respect. And to understand how deep that bond runs, you have to go back to the Final Four, the night Caitlin Clark dropped 40 points on Boston's South Carolina team in one of the most unforgettable games in recent memory. Most players would have buried that memory, shoved it down, and never mentioned it again. Not Aliyah. She walked right up to Caitlin after they became teammates and got it off her chest. "I just want to say," Boston admitted with a laugh, "I'm really upset that you did what you did in that Final Four game. You didn't have to go for 40 on our dome. Like, girl, we could have just had fun." Instead of creating tension, that moment became the foundation of their bond. Boston turned a painful loss into a shared joke, reminding Clark that while competition is fierce, respect runs deeper. "I'm not mad at you for real," she added, "but I am like, why would you do that?" That honesty broke the ice, and suddenly the player who had been her rival became her partner. From there, something special began to take shape. The pick and roll between Clark and Boston quickly became one of the most dangerous weapons in the league. But it wasn't just mechanics, it was trust. Boston explained that she literally watches Caitlin's eyes during games. She doesn't need a call or a signal. If Clark's eyes flash toward the rim, Boston knows it's time to cut, seal, or roll. That connection isn't rehearsed. It's instinct. And when you add in Clark's passing vision, the way she threads, the ball through impossible angles, and Boston's ability to establish deep position, the two became a duo that could change the entire geometry of the floor. Still, with Caitlin Clark came something else: the so-called Clark effect. Overnight, the Fever weren't just another rebuilding team. They were the most scrutinized roster in the league. Every highlight went viral. Every misstep was magnified. Fans flocked to watch, but so did critics. Boston remembers those first few weeks vividly. It wasn't just basketball. It was a spotlight like she had never experienced. And when the wins didn't come right away, the noise became deafening. That's when the rumors began. Social media detectives combed through every clip, convinced they could read body language like game film. Suddenly, fans were declaring that Aaliyah Boston hated her new teammate. She didn't want to be there, that the locker room was falling apart. Boston could only laugh. She remembers waking up from a nap before a game and seeing headlines claiming she and Clark despised each other. She walked into the locker room, turned to her teammates, and asked, "Girl, you good?" The response was always the same: "Yeah, we're fine." The so-called drama was nothing more than imagination run wild, but the online noise took its toll. Boston admits she had to log off social media because the constant barrage of trolls questioning her game, her chemistry, and even her character became too much. "I already put so much pressure on myself," she explained. "So when people are telling me, 'Dang, you're the worst post player I've ever seen,' I just had to exit. I had to leave." That decision wasn't about Caitlin Clark. It was about protecting her own peace. And yet, through it all, Boston never wavered in her praise of Clark. She saw how the rookie elevated the league, brought new fans into the arena, and gave women's basketball a platform it had never had before. Her only frustration was with the unrealistic expectations, the idea that two young stars could instantly mesh under intense pressure. Chemistry, she reminded everyone, takes time. And once it began to click, the Fever showed flashes of just how dangerous they could be by the time the playoffs arrived. The Fever weren't sneaking up on anyone. Their matchup with Connecticut was a proving ground. Game 1 slipped away, but in Game 2, they went toe-to-toe with one of the league's most experienced squads. Boston admits the difference wasn't talent, it was experience. Connecticut's veterans knew how to manage playoff intensity, when to push, and how to close. The Fever were right there, and that left them hungry. Boston believes that if they had forced a third game back in Indiana, they would have won. That belief has become fuel for everything they're chasing now. But then came the next test. Injuries. The 2025 season didn't go according to the dream script. Caitlin Clark went down, shaking the entire roster. For a young team, losing such a central figure could have been devastating. Yet Boston insists they never flinched. From day one, the mantra was simple: next woman up. Every player, from the starters to the bench, had to be ready to step in. No excuses. No self-pity. The games kept coming. They had to compete. Boston described the difference between playing with and without Clark. When Clark is on the floor, the tempo skyrockets. The ball flies up the court, and everyone has to run because Clark is always hunting for transition opportunities. Without her, the Fever slowed the game down. Focus on half-court execution and force defenses to grind through multiple possessions. It's not better or worse, just different. And learning to thrive in both styles has made them more versatile. Emotionally, though, Clark's absence was tough. Boston admitted it's hard watching a teammate go down, especially someone who competes as fiercely as Caitlin. But she also knows Clark will be back, and that belief keeps the team motivated. Every win without her is a step toward being playoff ready when she returns. What's kept them steady through the storm is veteran leadership. Boston points to Natasha Howard, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and especially Sydney Colson as the glue holding everything together. Colson, often seen as the team's comic relief, revealed another side this season. Behind the jokes is a leader who knows when to speak, what to say, and how to calm nerves in the heat of battle. Boston credits her with being the perfect voice in the locker room. Someone who can remind a young star that perfection isn't the goal. Confidence is. All of it has led to this moment. The Indiana Fever, battered but unbroken, are back in the playoffs, squaring off with the defending champion Las Vegas Aces in the semifinals. 6 players are dealing with injuries. The odds look impossible, and yet here they are, trading blows with the best team in the league. Head coach Stephanie White calls Aaliyah Boston the rock of the team, and it's easy to see why. Through rumors, adversity, and pressure, she has become the anchor, holding everything together and reminding the Fever who they are. Looking back, the biggest misconception wasn't about body language or chemistry. It was about underestimating the resilience of this group. The Fever didn't fracture. They didn't implode. They grew stronger. And with Caitlin Clark by her side, Boston believes this team isn't just here to compete. They're here to dominate. So to everyone who doubted, everyone who claimed they knew what was happening behind closed doors, Aaliyah Boston has one message: you were wrong. The Fever are for real, and the best is still to come.